Joanne, thanks for spending some time with us here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great to have you in Sweden. Would you like to start by saying a few words about yourself?
Oh, sure. I'm a photojournalist. I'm an animal rights photojournalist, and it's a very specific kind of work that I do. When I realized over a decade ago that there wasn't really anyone documenting these invisible animals in our world, the ones we eat and wear and test on. And we see a lot of pets in pictures. We see the beautiful animals, the elephants and the tigers, but we don't see the ones that we interact with every day. And so that's my job, is to make their lives visible and to bear witness to what they go through. And so I've been doing that for over a decade now.
You say that for you, photography is your tool of action or activism. Would you say that photography is underused in the animal rights movement globally?
I think that we weren't using it properly a few decades ago. There was still a lot of imagery coming out of undercover work, but the images were typically shot by activists, not photographers. And so the images were often shot from a typical human eye vantage point with a certain amount of space between us and the animal. And so images are shot, with an animal over there with not really much connection happening. But that has really changed, especially in the last decade. And campaigns really understand that they need, photographers or, skilled activists with the camera, because images can propel a campaign forward more than text can, or it can grab the audience and bring them into the text. Super important to have really, really strong images that connect you with not just the animal at hand, but the circumstance in which we put the animal in. Because of the picture that I have of the rabbit next in line for slaughter, the image wouldn't be as powerful if we didn't see where the rabbit was going, and the construct, that we have put this animal in. And so showing those two things, context and making a connection with the animal, are really important. And we're seeing that more and more. It's good.
And you have photography as a profession, but not every one of us can be a professional photographer. But what would you say, should we leave it to you professionals, or can we activists, if we have the passion for it, can we learn, and should we use it for animals?
Yeah, you don't need to be a professional. And there are a lot of people who are hugely interested in photography, and that's part of what I'm doing, is getting people excited about photography and taking better images. And there are a lot of people out there who just have to do it a lot. People want to be a good photographer overnight. But what I've learned is that it just takes a lot of time and practice, especially in stressful situations, or where there's a short time frame, or you're working in the dark, or you're trespassing. And you practice at home. Practice.
Right.
And a lot of people can do it. And people often think, well, okay, I'm going to do this, so I'm going to get a really nice camera and fuss over 6 months. What kind of camera am I going to get? Don't worry about it. It's the eye. So don't worry about the gear. Get the good gear when your eye warrants the good gear. Yeah.
Is there something specific you can tell us about photographing animals?
It's really simple. Just get down and get close. When you're getting down, you're usually, the animals we're photographing are shorter than us, often. So get down and get close, and the animal will take notice of you, and an interaction and a relationship starts, even if it doesn't take long, because the relationship that you're establishing with the animal, if it's good, everyone else who ever looks at that picture is going to have that connection as well. And then patience, is a virtue for sure, but sometimes you have the opportunity to work slowly, in which case, at a sanctuary or at a zoo, if you want to document how the animals are behaving, just sit and wait and let things happen. We're often in a big rush to get the images, and then sometimes the opposite is true. Let's say at a rodeo or a circus, and you are just patiently waiting for that image to happen in front of you. If it's really not happening, move your feet. And we often forget as photographers to just move our feet. because whether you're at this side of the rodeo and that side, the background is completely opposite, and you have a completely new picture. And one image that I have, which is a great example of that, is I'd been at a rodeo all day, and I thought, like, I have it, like there's nothing else I can document here. And then I reminded myself, move your feet, number one rule. And so I walked, and the cowboys were sitting up on the bars. Like, there's all these bars, and they were sitting up here above me, and at my eye level was their boots, and these are leather boots. And behind the leather boots, so they were in the foreground of the picture, and there was a bull in the background. So what an incredible thing to show, like this bull, the leather, which is made of these animals, the bars everywhere. And all of a sudden, I thought I had exhausted my opportunities for photography, but I had moved my feet, and there was this this great opportunity. So that's another advice.
Right, move your feet.
Yeah.
So that's about taking photos of animals. Do you think it could be worthwhile to take photos of animal activism as well?
Super important. Photographing activism gets people excited and engaged, and what we do with images and movies and billboards, the reason they're so effective is because we imagine ourselves as those people. And so that's why it's important in social justice movements to show what people are doing, because then they're like, I can do that, I can be that person, I can be in that protest, I can be cuddling that pig. So it's really, really important to show what people are doing.
Since the animal and meat industry is such a bloody business, many owners of the animals don't want people to look into what they're up to. So can you, but I know you manage still to get photos from those places. So tell us, how do you do it? How do you get in there?
Okay, so there's a lot of care and detail that goes into accessing places, because it's really important to show what animals go through, and most industries are not willing to have someone like me come in and take those pictures. I go in a very organized way, and it's usually it's trespassing that's what's involved, and that varies from country to country. I don't like lying to people. I like people. I like doing things above board. But like I said, that's just sometimes not available to me. So what's more important is getting the imagery. So for many industries that I've covered, I go in at night, spend the entire night. Don't break anything, don't touch anything, just document the conditions and leave. And that's what I'm taking with me, is the all-important proof, so that people can see and make kinder decisions.
Yes. Apart from photography, what other kind of methods would you like to see more of in the animal rights movement?
Well, we argue a lot about tactics and what works best, and I'd like to see all of the tactics continue, almost all of them. And we're in the middle of an experiment, and we don't know exactly what is the number one thing that works best. So I think it's important for people to be doing what they're skilled at and what they're good at and what they enjoy. You guys know that I take photos, but some people are great at leafleting and speaking with people, or writing letters, or campaigning, or fundraising. And I think, as I said earlier, I just wish that extracurricular activities for people involved more volunteerism, because we're at a stage in history, and right now where the world really, really needs it. Like, we all need to be putting in a huge effort into making the world a better place for animals and humans and the environment. And so just, picking something and getting good at it, and doing it more often.
You have been active for animals now more than a decade, seeing more suffering than most. Do you have any secrets or suggestions on sustainable activism and how not to burn out yourself as an activist that you can share with us?
It's so important not to burn out and to look after yourself, because there are so few people working on behalf of animals, and the animals need every single one of us. And that means we need longevity in the movement, which means we need to look after ourselves, which of course is easier said than done. It's easy to understand intellectually, hard to do emotionally, but yet I have to emphasize it. People come in full of emotion, as did I, because there's an emergency, because there's an incredible amount of violence and pain out there, and we feel compelled to just work our butts off around the clock. And but this sort of behavior can burn us out. And so pacing ourselves, whatever you need to do to look after yourself, to be happy, you have to do it. And if that means taking time off, or really whatever you need to do it, so that you can work for animals for 20, 30, 40, 50 years instead of 2 or 3 years. Yeah, and there's a really great book that I recommend to everyone, and it's called Aftershock by Patrice Jones. And it's a really good guide for anyone, not just activists, but people who are compassionate and who witness the trauma of this world, as we all do, and how to cope with your feelings around that, and how to survive and thrive in a world that is full of so much violence.